Alright, so the purpose of this lecture video is to give you a taste and an example of how this informative speech should sound, and more specifically, pay attention to how I cite my sources. Now, as you know, in this midterm speech, the informative one, you have to cite all 6 of your sources as you progress throughout the speech. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that you give your speech and then say at the end, oh, so I got my sources from NewYorkTimes.com, ABCNews.com. You don't do that. You say it as they progress through the speech. So, say, for example, your first piece of background, or say your first source in your bibliography, it gave you background information. Well, you know then to cite that source in your background. All right? Let me give you a quick taste. I'll run through a speech, say, I'll do one background, one process, and one benefit for the topic of, let's say, Metallica. All right? I know them well. Okay. Attention-getting device and intro, like always. So you would start by going, my desk style is a reflection of my lifestyle, by James Hetfield from Metallica. This speech will be all about the entire background, process, and benefits of the godfathers of rock and roll, Metallica. You see, Metallica started back in 1981 when, according to RollingStone.com, James Hetfield met Lars Ulrich and became the first 2 members of Metallica. And also, according to NewYorkTimes.com, their first city that they had this band in was in San Francisco. So now that you know where they came from, let's look at some process about Metallica. Well, see, according to Amazon.com, Metallica, since 1981, has had every single one of their albums go to the top of the charts. You see, according to VanityFair.com, Metallica, after 1991, went from speed metal to what you would call more traditional radio-friendly metal. More so, according to SouthCarolina.edu's website, Symphonies, Metallica is the only band that the United States' most popular symphony, the San Francisco Symphony, volunteered to play with them, etc. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so there you see it. Every time you cite a source, you always say according to, all right? So if it's from the internet, you just say according to the name of the website. If it's from a book, according to the title of the book, all right? So remember, when you're giving your speech, I'll be keeping a tally, right? Every time I hear you say according to, I check off 1. Remember, it is impossible to get a passing grade on this speech without having at least 6 sources. Going under that is what you call unintentional plagiarism. Okay? So remember, it's 5 to 7 minutes. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're doing your process especially, remember, just don't give me a list of facts. All right? If you have fact 1, fact 2, fact 3, fact 4, don't say, okay, now here's the process section. Here's fact 1 about my topic. Here's fact 2 about my topic. Right? Remember back in the first speech, that narrative, okay? Tell us how 1 created 2, how 1 and 2 had to come together to create 3, how 3 and 2 were needed for 4 to come about, all right? String them together. And even if your formal outline isn't built that way, remember that your speech does not need to be letter for letter, word for word the same. In fact, it's expected that you make changes, mainly due to the length and the content. All right? So hopefully that gives you a good taste of what's going to happen. Remember to get it submitted on time. Don't forget the dress code, business professional. And yeah, don't be too safe over the break. Otherwise, it's just kind of boring. Is that a vacation? Good rhetorical question to end it with, right?